Pleasant day to everyone. This is Sir Rafi Nugas, and for today's lesson, we're going to deal with music component. 20th century musical style. Quarter 1, Week 1, distinctive musical elements of given pieces on 20th century musical style. What is 20th century musical styles? Well, it is also known as contemporary music. So before we proceed to our topic for this moment, let us determine the following objectives of this lesson. Identify the following 20th century musical styles. Number 2, determine the following distinctive elements of music or characteristic of 20th century music. Well, do you have any idea what is contemporary music? First and foremost, composed in 20th and 21st century. 20th century music brought new freedom, wide experimentation, and development of advanced technology, with new musical styles and forms that changed the accepted rules of music of earlier periods, like classical, romantic, and baroque eras. 20th century music also detached from its traditional way of creating musical piece. Some of the composers try new things. That's why some of those created musical piece are known as atonal or lack of tonal system. 20th century music is a product of modern technology, like the use of synthesizers, amplifiers, and recorders. Well, for sure, you are ready to engage in our new lesson, which is the 20th century music and their distinctive elements and characteristics. Here are the following examples of 20th century musical styles. We have Impressionism, Expressionism, Neo-classicism, avant-garde, modern nationalism, electronic music, and chant music. Impressionism. It is a French movement in the late 19th and early 20th century. Actually, the sentimental melodies and dramatic emotionalism of preceding romantic period was replaced of moods and impression. So that is the characteristic of Impressionism. There is an extensive use of colors and effects, vague melodies, and innovative chords and progressions leading to mild dissonance. Here are other characteristics of Impressionism music. First, the use of whole tone scale. Whole tone scale is a musical scalar arrangement of pitches, each separated from the next by a whole tone step. Here's the diagram of two whole tone scale. The first one, C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. The other one is D flat, E flat, F, G, A, and B. Another, in terms of harmony, chords overlap lightly with each other to produce new subtle musical colors. Therefore, there is an overlapping of chords in some Impressionism music. Well, other characteristic of Impressionism music, chords did not have a definite order and a sense of clear resolution. Other features include the lack of a tonic-dominant relationship, which normally gives the feeling of finality for a piece, moods, and texture. Aside from that, harmonic vagueness about the structure of a certain chords. Lastly, most of the Impressionist work centered on nature and its beauty, lightness, and brilliance. So those are the following characteristics of Impressionism style of music. Next, 20th century musical style is Expressionism. Expressionism. The term Expressionism was originally borrowed from visual art and literature. Artists created vivid pictures, distorting colors and shapes to make unrealistic images that suggested strong emotion. So from its term expressionism, so therefore it deals with emotions, strong emotions, or usually negative emotions. Expressionist composers poured intense emotional expression into their music and explored the subconscious mind. It used atonality or lack of tonality or tonal key and the 12-tone scale, lacking stable and conventional harmonies. It serves as a medium for expressing strong emotions such as anxiety, rage, and alienation. And here are the other characteristics of Expressionism music. Number one, use of 12-tone scale. In a music, this is a type of music introduced by Arnold Schoenberg. Okay, Arnold Schoenberg is a composer who created this or who used this 12-tone scale. 12-tone scale uses a tone row formed by 12 semitones of the chromatic scale commonly associated with the term retrograde, or reverses the order of the motive's pitches. What was the first pitch becomes last and vice versa. In other words, if we say 12-tone scale, for example, you have a piano or a keyboard, you can use all those notes in the piano. But make sure the arrangement must be in retrograde. Mean to say, the first note will be the last, or the last note, the second line or measure will be the first note. Aside from that, there are other characteristics of Expressionism music. In terms of harmony, it shows high level of dissonance. We say dissonance, that is a harsh sounding harmonic combination, obviously resulting into atonality. 3. Use distorted melodies and harmonies. Constantly changing texture and extreme pitches. So sometimes if you heard some expressionism music, there are some part which is the pitch is very low, then suddenly, extremely it changes into high pitches. Same with extreme contrast of dynamics. From soft to very loud dynamics, or from loud to soft dynamics. Next, we have angular melodies, with wide lips and no cadence. 6. Show radical emotion or negative expression like radical fear, anxiety, and anger. That's why if you hear some expressionism style of music, you may say that it's like a horror music, or it is like a soundtrack in a horror film. And lastly, it introduced atonality, which means lacking of tonal center or key. Next, 20th century musical style is the Neo-classicism. Neo-classicism was a moderate factor between emotional excess of romantic period and the violent impulses of the soul in Expressionism. So maybe we can say that it's a combination of romantic era of music, which is the traditional, and the impulses of Expressionism, which is the new. It was a partial return to earlier style of writing, particularly the tightly knit from classical period. While combining tonal harmonies with slight dissonance, it also adopted a modern freer use of the seven-note diatonic scale, or we can say the major and the minor scale. Other characteristics of neoclassicism music. Number 1, freer use of the seven-note diatonic scale. Any sequence of 7 successive natural notes such as C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. And any transposition thereof is a diatonic scale. So meaning to say, it can be compared to major scale of C or an A minor scale. Another characteristics of neoclassicism are number 2, partial return to conventional way of romantic music combined with expressionism characteristic. Number three, use of harmonic dissonance that produce harsh chords and complex but exciting rhythmic pattern. Next 20th century musical style is the avant-garde. Avant-garde is closely associated with electronic music. The avant-garde movement dealt with the parameters or the dimensions of sound in space. The avant-garde style exhibited a new attitude toward musical mobility, whereby the order of note groups could be varied so that musical continuity could be altered. Improvisation was a necessity in this style, for the musical score were not necessarily followed as written. For example, one could expect a piece to be read by a performer from left to right or vice versa. And that is avant-garde. Another 20th century musical style is the modern nationalism, a looser form of 20th century music development focused on nationalist composers and musical innovators as well, who sought to combine modern technique and folk materials. It can be also referring to a musical ideas or motifs that are identified with a specific country, region, or ethnicity, such as folk tunes and melodies, rhythms, and harmonies inspired by them. So we can say that modern nationalism is a combination of a modern technique and a folk materials or tunes in some area or country or place. And that is modern nationalism. So we have another style of 20th century music. We have the electronic music. As 20th century acquired new technology, the capacity of electronic machines such as synthesizers, amplifiers, and tape recorders, loudspeakers are used in able to create different sound. The presence of those electronic machines that is useful in creating music was taken advantage by some musical composers and create new distinctive style. Music concrete is also associated with electronic music. We say music concrete is one of features and type of musical composition that utilizes recorded sounds as raw material or composer records different sounds that are heard in the environment such as the bustle of traffic, the sound of the wind, the barking of dogs, the strumming of guitar, or the cry of an infant. These sounds are arranged by composer in different ways, like by playing the tape recorder in its fastest mode or in reverse. In music concrete, the composer can experiment with different sound that cannot be produced by regular musical instrument such as piano or violin. And last 20th musical style is the chant music. Chant music refers to a style wherein the piece always sounds different at every performance because of the random techniques of production, including the use of ring modulators or natural elements that become a part of the music. Most of the sounds emanate from the surroundings, both natural and man-made, such as honking cars, rustling leaves, blowing wind, dripping water, or a ringing phone. As such, the combination of external sounds cannot be duplicated as each happens by chance. That's why it is called chance music. And to sum it up, the following distinctive elements of 20th century music styles are in Impressionism, vague melody, use of whole tone scale. There is also an overlapping of chords progression leading to mild dissonance and harmonic vagueness. Distinctive characteristic or distinctive elements in Expressionism music, we have extreme dynamics, distorted melody, use of retrograde, use of 12-tone scale, and evident of atonality. In Neo-classicism, we can say that It is a partial return to traditional way of writing, use of seven-tone diatonic scale, and of course, the fusion between Expressionism and Romantic style. Distinctive elements of avant-garde, it is associated with electronic music and use of space sound parameters. In modern nationalism, that is a combination of modern technique and folk materials to produce another style of music. In electronic music, use of music concrete, use of tape recorder, amplifiers, and synthesizers. And last, of course, we have the chance music, use random techniques in creating music, use of ring modulators or natural sounds in creating music. So all of those are the distinctive elements of the 20th century musical style. Hope you learned something in this lesson. Thank you very much for watching.